Good evening and welcome to King Bush's and Bez's League One predictions. Rotherham may be down, but we're still here giving you our thoughts on League One. So we'll crack right on. How you doing, Bez?
Yeah. Another week towards ending this horrible season. So yeah, get it over and done with for me, and move on to the next season.
Super. So first up, we got Dirty Donny against Stevenage. I've gone 1-0. Looks like we've gone the same here. Alex Revell's team still pushing for that last playoff spot. They obviously drew the last game, previously lost, had a bit of a stumble, but prior to that, they had 2 wins on the trot. And Doncaster, in fairness, have improved. They've won the last 2 games, but previous to that, lost the last 2. So Doncaster, I think they'll struggle in this game purely because Stevenage have got something to play for. Donny's got nothing to play for, and that's purely what I'm going on. What I will say is, I think the Donny manager has overachieved this season with Doncaster, keeping them up. I think he's done quite well. I think he's not a bad manager, the Donny manager. But yeah, 1-0, I'm going to Stevenage purely because they need a win to try and get in those playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 1-0 Stevenage. Just quickly on Donny, I agree. I think the manager has done a good job. I think also what they got right as well, which it turned out that Rotherham got this wrong, was they got their January recruitment right as well. They brought in quite a lot of players, and they just wanted the right type of player. I mean, you look at the players on paper, and Rotherham's transfer window was good. I felt it was the wrong sort of player that we needed at the time. And fair play to Grant McCann and then their transfer recruitment team, because they just got the right type of player in. They're safe now, Donny, with the 2 wins. So fair play. Again, Steve, a bit like you, Lee. I think Stevenage. They need the win to kind of keep that 6th spot. And they do tend to be a little bit inconsistent, Stevenage, and they've lost and drawn the last 2. So I think they're due a win because they don't tend to go 3 games without a win. So I think they will get a win, and that'll help them get that 6th position nailed down.
Next up, Stockport, Peterborough. Bloody hell, we're copying each other here. I've gone 2-1 as well. Again, Stockport in 5th position. They haven't lost in a while either. 3 wins and 2 draws, so pretty steady sort of form. Kind of playoff form, to be fair. As Peterborough, they haven't won in God knows how long. Draw last out and 3 defeats and 2 draws. So I can't see anything other than a Stockport win. You would think with the positions and the form, Stockport may batter them, but I think it's just the nerves. Peterborough are safe, in my view. So nothing to play for. They'll play with a bit of freedom, whereas Stockport, I think their fans will be getting anxious because Plymouth and potentially even Luton and Huddersfield could sneak into them playoffs. So I think it's squeaky bum time, and that's why I've only gone 2-1.
Yeah, and obviously I've got 2-1 as well. I do think both teams will score. I mean, generally speaking, any games that Peter are involved in, they do tend to be goals. And similar to Stockport, to be fair, as well. Stockport's form's actually relatively good. They've won 3, drawn 2 at last 5. And that's what's kind of pushed them up or kind of maintained their playoff position. I do agree with Lee. I think there will be an element of nerves here, but I can't see Stockport dropping out. They're 5 points clear of Plymouth, so just 1 win, and that's guaranteed Stockport a playoff place, I'd say. Peterborough, what I have just noticed, actually, I've literally just noticed it this second, and Peterborough are kind of a team who are included in this. And if you looked at from Blackpool, who were 16th, right down to 21st, Exeter, let's say, I'm not including the bottom 3, and every single club in that kind of section, right? They have gone on runs where they've not won for about 6 or 7 games. Then they've got to winning 3, drawing maybe 3 or 4. So again, not losing. And then they go back to not winning. And Peterborough have done that. You know, they were obviously in the bottom 4 when Darren Ferguson was sat. They got on a good run, got themselves up to like 13th, 14th. Then they went on a bad run, started looking like they could get relegated. Then they went on a good run, and now they're on a bad run again. But they've already got enough points to stay up. And, you know, I'm just looking at league table, and look at Blackpool. Blackpool incredibly have won 4 out of 5 games. I mean, why couldn't Rotherham just do this? That's what I'm kind of looking at. And even Donny as well, you know, Doncaster, I can't believe they're 14th, to be honest. Fair play. So, yeah, I think Peterborough, all in all, it's been an okay season because it could have been a lot worse. It could have gone down, and they've managed to stay up. So, fair play. I think they'll be challenging top 6 again next year, Peterborough, with that manager in charge.
Probably because they got rid of Dale Tong that they've stayed up.
Yeah.
Next up, Blackpool versus Leyton Orient. So I've gone 2-0 to Blackpool. They're on a bit of a good run of form. They've won 4 out of the last 5.
1-4 out of 5, yeah.
Yeah, and lost 1. So they're on decent form, Blackpool. Leyton Orient, they're on free fall, draw, loss, draw, loss, and even Rotherham beat them. So they are not very good. So yeah, Leyton Orient in free fall. I don't think they'll go down. I'll tell you, I think they'll go down later on in the show. But I don't think it'll be Leyton Orient. But they won't be far off. They're in a relegation battle. And Blackpool, to be fair, I think could end up finishing as high as sort of 13th, 14th, something like that. So, Blackpool, easy win, 2-0.
Yeah, obviously I've got a draw now. The only reason I've got a draw is because, as I've just kind of said, it's amazing how the form does seem to swing between those clubs that are from where Blackpool are in 16th down to 21st Exeter. And because Leyton have just lost to Rotherham, and the form, the last 5 games has included 2 draws in there. I just think they'll get a draw here. I think Blackpool will go into the game knowing that they're not going down. And I think Leyton Orient will go into the game thinking there's a chance it could go down. And I think they'll battle for a point. And that's the reason why I've gone a draw. I agree with Lee. I don't think Leyton Orient are going down. Like Lee, I'll say who I think is going down later in the video.
Next up, Bradford versus Bolton. So I've gone 1-0 Bolton. Bolton are 3rd. Doing a decent form, only 1 loss out of the last 5. Won 2 of them and drawn 2. Bradford, they're not on terrible form, but they have lost 2. But yeah, I mean, I've backed against Bradford most season. So in fairness to Bradford, they have they've done well to remain in the playoff spot. As I've got quite a bit of sort of grief in the comments from Bradford fans saying I'm very harsh on Bradford, and they have stayed in the top sort of 4 the whole season, which in fairness they have. But I go on the eye test every time I've watched them. They've looked dreadful. I think it's a poor league, and I think that's why Bradford still in 4th position. I don't think they'll get promoted. I don't think they'll win the playoffs. I'll tell you, I think he'll win the playoffs as well later on. But yeah, for me, I think Bolton are one of the best teams in the league. I think they've underperformed, and that's harsh saying the 3rd, but I still think on paper they've got a better squad than Lincoln, and I think they're on par with Cardiff. So I think it should have been Cardiff and Bolton for the top 2, and Lincoln should have been around 3rd. But fair play to Lincoln. They've been the best team this season. They deserve to win the league. They deserve to get promoted. So well done, Lincoln City.
Yeah, and just on Bradford, a little bit like yourself, Lee. I think and look, they've done a good job. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I think the Bradford kind of guaranteeing themselves a playoff spot is more to do with it is quite a poor league, and I think Bradford's just continued the momentum from last season. And
yeah, I agree. I think they've overachieved.
They have, well. Yeah. And the thing is, the momentum's not built over one season. I think obviously Bradford spent a lot of time in League Two, and I think obviously the last 2 seasons, I think Bradford did get the playoffs and lost, and then they went up on the final day. And so I think a bit like Rotherham actually when they had Steve Evans, because they had a lot of momentum and they kept almost improving in League Two year after year, but not getting promoted. Then when they did get promoted, they've almost gone straight into kind of the top 6 of the league above. I think that's the reason why they've done it. And look, Rotherham did exactly the same. They were floating between playoffs and maybe 12th in the league for a few seasons, but they were gradually getting better. And then Steve Evans came in, got that promoted, and then the momentum carried on into.
Yeah, I agree. I think this season, if Bradford want to go up, they've got to do it this season because I think next season they'll get found out. And I don't think unless they get some kind of takeover and somebody invests a bit of money into them, I think next season they'll struggle. I think they'll be bottom half of the table if they don't do it this season. I think, like you said, I think the momentum's carried on from a promotion and they've kind of winged it. In my view, like I say, I know Bradford fans are going to get upset with that, but that's just my view. And time will tell. I'm not often that wrong. People laughed at me this season when I did the Premier League predictions when I said Nottingham Forest would struggle. To say they got into Europe last season. And me saying I think they could go down this season. Everybody thought, take me away with the white coats. I also said another team who struggled that nearly got relegated, Manchester United. I said they'd finish 3rd. Where are they currently? 3rd. So I do know what I'm talking about, unfortunately, for Bradford fans. So if you don't get promoted this season, there'll be a season of struggle next year, unfortunately. Yeah. Bolton Wanderers, I think, it's so tough. I think if they don't finish in the top 2, Bolton don't go up because I've got a surprise pick.
Well, they can't finish in top 2 now, can they? Because Cardiff are already up.
Cardiff don't. Yeah, so
Cardiff
I don't think Bolton win the playoffs, and I think they're one of the best sides in it. So it's a travesty, but I believe somebody else will win those playoffs, and I'll tell you who later.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I agree with you on Bradford. I don't think they'll go down next season, but I do think they'll end up kind of dropping to the bottom half. And look, Bradford fans, I know you're going to be angry or upset, but it did happen to you a few years ago. I remember when Bradford came to Rotherham in February, I think it was, and they were in the playoff spot, and Rotherham were as well. And Rotherham won the game 2-0, and Bradford ended up drafted out of playoffs, not obviously going up. And then the next year or 2 years later, they got relegated back into League Two. And look, I like Graham Alexander, and whatever you've got him, I don't think he will go down, but I do think he'll be closer to the bottom next season. He will be top. Bolton, again, I've got a 2-1 Winfield because I think Bolton are a better side. Simple as that, really. I think they should be disappointed with their season. I've said it before. I'm still not a big fan of the manager. I think he's holding them back. And what I would say is, especially Stevenage could get that 6th place. It looks like a fairly weak playoffs club with like a group of sides in the playoffs. Obviously, Bolton is strong. We've just talked about Bradford. And if Stevenage get in there, they're not exactly the strongest side. Stockport, they're okay, I guess. This is if Bolton don't go up this year with these playoffs, I don't think they'll ever go up. If we are changing the manager, I really think this is a great opportunity for a team like Bradford or Stevenage, if they get in, to get promoted, because it's not a strong playoffs. When Rotherham win, I can remember Rotherham in playoffs a few years ago, and it was Preston. I can't remember who else it was. Preston, Leyton, Orient, and someone else. Shrewsbury was it? I just remember it being a lot stronger than it is now.
Next up, Burton versus Exeter. So yeah, I've gone. Burton are good at home. They've not lost in 4 games. Burton, they're always strong at home. Exeter are really struggling. I know they have 1 win, but they've had 2 draws previously, a loss and another draw. For me, Exeter are in trouble, but I think they will just survive Exeter. I don't think it will be them that go down. But Burton, I think I'll have too much for him this weekend, and I'm going to go 2-1.
Yeah, very similar. Obviously, I've gone Burton win as well. I've just gone 1-0. I think Exeter actually have done well. I mean, I really like the fact that Matt Tay's gone in there and he's kind of changed their fortunes around. Obviously, a win and 2 draws in the last 3 games, including a great draw against Plymouth. The Devon derby, I really thought they had no chance in that game. And I think they were, 2 minutes from winning game as well. So, disappointing that they only came away with a point there. I have to say, I do think Burton will win this game because I think when Burton do get closer to the relegation zone, they tend to get a win. I think they'll do that now. And they're also in good form as well. They've not lost for 4, they've drawn 3 and won 1. They're not conceding many goals as always, so I've kind of gone 1-0. So yeah, I do think Burton are going to win this game, but I do think Exeter are stopping up, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Next up, Cardiff versus Northampton Town. Northampton are in free fall now. They've given up. They're losing every single game now. They will finish bottom. I think Cardiff will absolutely tear them a new arse. I've gone 5-1. I can't see anything other than Cardiff just taking them apart. I think Northampton, they're finished. They have actually announced that there's somebody buying the club as well, haven't they? So there's some investment coming into Northampton, so that will give them some hope of optimism for next season. So, but this season, truly awful season for them. They're going to finish bottom and they're going to get spanked this weekend. 5-1 I've gone.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I'm really on that. I mean, I've only gone 3-0, but I can't say anything but an hammer in Cardiff. And just quickly on Northampton, I mean, I said it a couple of weeks ago. I just don't get why Northampton struggle to stay in this division. Every time they go down to League Two, they're always in top. They're always in the playoffs, or they're aiming for the top 7 or whatever it might be. And I expect to do so next year as well. And I think Northampton will be. I think out of the teams who are going down, I think Northampton will be the closest team to Rotherham in terms of teams at top. I do think Rotherham will be at top as well next season. So yeah, I just don't get why they can't seem to stay in this division. I mean, there's it's very rare that there's a gap between League Two and League One normally, or that much of a gap. At least the bottom half of League One. Anyway, Doncaster have managed to get mid-table. I know that Wimbledon is struggling, but Bradford have managed to get 4th, and Bradford were only in playoffs last season in League Two. So yeah, I just don't know how Northampton do it. Cardiff quickly, actually, promotion, well done Cardiff, but surely disappointed with this season. You can only get 94 points now as total. And I thought when Cardiff came to Rotherham and they won 3-0 with 10 men, I thought, I tell you what, these are going to get 100 points. And they've not. They've struggled to beat sides. Drew 1-1 with Peterborough, drew 0-0 at home to Blackpool. So yeah, I'd have to say it's almost a disappointing season for Cardiff. But Cardiff will finish with Lincoln next season in the Championship, mark my words.
Next up, Huddersfield versus Mansfield Town. This will be a tight game, I think. Huddersfield still harbouring hopes of playoffs, but I think I don't think they're going to do it now. 3 draws on the trot as well, so form very inconsistent. They're not losing games though. There is a win in there and another draw, but I think they'll just edge this game. I do think Mansfield have had a good season, and Mansfield aren't in too much shabby form either. only one defeat, but they've done quite a few draws. But I think with Huddersfield still harbouring very slim hopes of a playoff shot, I think they'll nick this 2-1.
Yeah, very similar to yourself, Lee. Two sides who aren't really going anywhere this season. Again, Huddersfield, yeah, they've not lost for 5 games, but there's 4 draws in there. Such a disappointing season for them. I mean, they've only got 2 games left as well, so they'd need Stevenage to pretty much lose all 3 games in order to all the 70-game playoffs. So, yeah, they've got no chance, I'm afraid. I just think they'll win this game because I think Mansfield have got a lot of games to play still. They've got 4. And they've already played a lot of games over the last 2 or 3 weeks because of the FA Cup run. So I just think it's a game where Huddersfield will get the win, a tight win, because Mansfield, they've got nothing to worry about. They're not going to go down. They've progressed, I think, from last season. They're going to end up on, 58, 59 points. I think last season they got, lower 50s. So, yeah, they've improved season on season. That's all you can do. And I think Lee said it last week, actually. I think Mansfield could start looking at those top 6 places next season if they get their recruitment right.
Yeah. Lincoln versus Wycombe Wanderers. So, Lincoln, I mean, what a season they've had. Not really easing up as well. They're wanting to just win every game. Wycombe, they've hit the rocks. Nothing left to play for now. Another defeat last week. They've had 3 defeats in the last 5 games that they've played, with only 1 win and a draw in there. I can't see anything other than a Lincoln win here. 2-0 I've gone.
Yeah, same. I have to say, Wycombe, I'm disappointed with them. Really like the manager, Mike Duff. When he took over, they were towards the bottom and he got them within a few points at playoffs. And I thought, here we go, they're going to get in the playoffs. And they've just gone a bad run for some reason. They've lost 3 in their last 4 games. And, they've lost to Blackpool at home and drew away at Huddersfield. And, yeah, disappointed with their ending, to be honest with you. And they'll be disappointed with that as well. I think Wycombe as well, we've said it before, they've got one of the bigger budgets, I think, in this league, I think you'll find that they're a club with ambition and they're trying to get into the championship and stabilise there. So, yeah, that's a disappointing season for them. As Lee said, I can't praise Lincoln highly enough. Fully deserved championship, which they're now going to get. They just need 1 point to guarantee it. They'll get it in this game because they'll beat Wycombe. And look, fair play. I don't know disrespect to Lincoln, but I don't think there's a lot of quality there. I just think they work really hard and the manager's got the tactics right and he knows when to press, when not to press. And, yeah, brilliant from Lincoln and fair play. And I hope they do stay in championship next season. I can't see it, but I hope they do because we need teams like Lincoln and, teams like Lincoln to kind of get into the championship and stay there for a few seasons rather than just come straight back down like Rotherham do and Oxford are going to do and Wycombe have done and Burton have done. So, yeah, good luck Lincoln next season.
Luton versus Barnsley. So, it looks like we've both gone the same here. So, Luton are a team in form. Again, slight hopes of playoffs, but I think they've left it too late. I know their fans said if Odofin would have started the season, they would have got promoted. But yeah, they've got the squad, the capabilities to do it. They had an horrendous sort of season at one point. They were drawing far too many games, but they have started to turn them into wins. Barnsley, they're in free fall as well, I think. They're getting a few draws in there. And for some reason, I think Conor Houlihan's done kind of a decent job because they've kind of picked up points where you didn't expect them to pick up and they go and do it. So never quite been bad enough to get relegated, but not very good at all. And I think next season, if the current model is what they're doing this season, I can very much see Barnsley doing what Rotherham have done this season and getting relegated. I believe they're trying to cut the wage bill again for next season. Obviously, they've said that Hoolan's going to be going as well, which I think he's got one of the lowest budgets in the league, so he's kind of overachieved. So the next appointment's going to be a big one, and if they're continuing to slash the wage bill on an already bottom-off wage bill anyway, I can see Barnsley having trouble next season. Luton, for me, next season will be challenging for the title. That's my prediction. I think they will be in the top 3, no doubt about it, next season. So Luton left it a bit late this time. Obviously won the whatever it's called.
EFL trophy, yeah.
EFL trophy, whatever it's called. Won that as well. So be full of confidence. We'll go on to win this game quite comfortably at 2-0.
I'll start with Luton. So obviously I've got exactly the same result as Lee, 2-0. Start with Luton. I think it's a weird season for Luton because on one hand you could say it's been a disappointing season because they're going to fall short of the playoffs, and the players that Luton's got at their disposal, they really should have been challenging top 2, never mind challenging top 6. I do think they've left it a bit late, but recording this on Monday, it's a big day tomorrow, as in Tuesday, for Luton and Stevenage actually. And funnily enough, they've both got games against South Yorkshire teams. So Luton travel to Rotherham and Stevenage have got Barnsley at home. Now, if Luton can beat Rotherham and hope that Stevenage draw with Barnsley, then Luton are a point behind them with 2 games to go, and it gives themselves a chance. The issue they've got, Luton, is that it's not just Stevenage they've got to catch. They've got to go above Plymouth as well. So I'd have to look at the fixtures to see who I think's likely to get in those playoff places, but it is going to be close between those 3. But like I say, if Luton lose to Rotherham tomorrow, then I think that's probably their season over. But on one hand, it has been a good season because, as Lee says, they've won the EFL trophy. And I know it's not a big competition, but at least it's a trophy won. And I do agree with Lee. I think that next season, Luton will be challenging near top, or they should be anyway. It just depends on how much Jack Wilshere's learned. Obviously, he was highly rated as a coach. This is his first managerial job. He's done actually a decent job, you'd say, because he took over. I think they were bottom off, and he's managed to get them within the playoff, with fighting for the playoffs, and also won the trophy as well. So I think that's a decent start for him. And I've also said it was a transitional period for Luton this season as well. Barnsley, and what I'm gonna say. So as we all know, we've got a rival on this channel, which is Mr. Callum Fowler, and he. Every time you listen to him this season, he goes on about Rotherham and how he's worried for them and etc. And to be fair to him, he's got it right because Rotherham have gone down. I have to say, I'm going to say something very similar about Barnsley. Now, as Lee rightly said, Barnsley have already slipped the budget. I think they're something like 17th in terms of the 17th highest budget in the league, which is obviously really low for a club like Barnsley. Rumours that they could slash it again. I've already said that Hoorah and I felt did a decent job. They say do a brilliant job, just say did a decent job. I think, you speak to a Barnsley fan and they would disagree with me. But I think it's because Barnsley fans are probably expecting their team, just like us Rotherham fans, to be challenging top 6. That's the only reason I think they say that. I think they're almost blindsided by the fact that Barnsley have always been a top 6 League One side or a lower Championship side, and they're not that anymore in terms of the budget. So they've got to be realistic. Now, they've got obviously announced that Hoorah's going to end the season. They've got to be really careful here, Barnsley, because Hoorah would have been a cheap option. He would have been a cheap option. And there's no way, if they're reducing the wages, that they're going to bring in a big manager on a lot of money. So I worry that they'll get someone who's got even less experience than Hoorah who comes in. That would be my concern as a Barnsley fan. And if that is the case, and it could be the case, I think Barnsley could do a Rotherham. I really do. And I think they could be heading in the same direction as Rotherham. I mean, Rotherham have done it. Yes, they did set their budget and wages, what have you, but they've still got a top 10 budget, So, and they've still gone down with a top 10 budget. and Barnsley are gradually getting worse and worse and worse. I think to be fair, they finished last season about the same place they are now, but they are seemingly gradually getting worse in terms of performance on the pitch, and I think it's going to continue. And I really do worry for Barnsley. I think that this time next year we could be talking about Barnsley facing relegation, and I don't want that. I like the South Yorkshire clubs, apart from one, so I hope they don't do that. But I can just see it. So yeah, Barnsley fans, get your comments in. I really do think next season you're only going one way, I'm afraid, and that's towards League Two, unless something changes over the summer.
Fair enough. Right, so Plymouth versus Port Vale. So this is my surprise team that I think will win the playoffs. I think they're going to sneak in the playoffs, and I think they're going to win them. Plymouth 4-1. I think they're going to absolutely rip Port Vale apart. They're starting to hit the form at the right time at Plymouth. For me, yeah, I think they're gonna get that last playoff spot. I think Stevenage are gonna miss out, and I think Plymouth will be in there, and I think they will win the playoff final. That's my prediction.
Okay, I've decided that because you just said that, and I said it in when we were talking about Luton and Barnsley. I've decided to quickly look at the fixtures because now Plymouth and Luton have both played. In fact, all three clubs have played 43 games. Now, tomorrow, Stevenage instead have got Barnsley at home, which I fully expect them to win. And Luton go to Rotherham, and Luton could win. They might not win. I don't know. But Plymouth are actually away to Bradford. And I think that they might draw that game.
I think I've predicted Plymouth will win at Bradford as well.
Okay. Now, I think I do think they'll beat Port Vale, which means it comes to last game of the season. And Plymouth are playing Northampton away. Wow. Okay. Stevenage have got Wigan at home and Luton away at Bolton. So to me, that rules out Luton because they're not going to beat Rotherham, Bolton, and I think they'll beat Barnsley, but I just don't think they'll beat Rotherham and Bolton. So that rules them out for me. So it's whether or not Stevenage can beat Wigan, I'd say, because we both got Stevenage winning on this week. We have, yeah. So to me, it's whether or not Stevenage can beat Wigan. So you obviously think they won't do then, Lee. I actually think they will. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think Stevenage get that sixth spot and Plymouth fall short. I'm going to stick with that. Port Vale, yeah, not hard to say. They're not down officially. I mean, God knows how they keep seeming to go each week, don't they? Grabbing a draw and gradually, just start staying in there. But yeah, this is the end, I'm afraid, Port Vale fans. I think you'll lose your game tomorrow on Wednesday against Cardiff, and that'll send you down. But fair play, at least Port Vale gave it an effort. They've gone 4 games unbeaten, 2 wins, 2 draws. So fair play to Port Vale. Rotherham just died and shriveled, didn't they?
Talking of died and shriveled, Reading. One of your picks that you said to me that would get in the playoffs. 3 defeats on the bounce now. Talks of player bust-ups. Looks like Richardson could be on his way out of the club. Where we was loading him up when he first come. But the wheels seem to have fallen off at Reading. And I think they're going to be in free fall now. 3 defeats on the trot. A draw previously to that, only 1 win in the last 5. And I think Rotherham go and win this game as well. I've gone 3-2. I think it'll be a tight game because Rotherham aren't very good. But I think Clark has got more attacking. If we play like we did at Leyton Orient and we create chances, I think we'll put Reading to bed. Reading won't have anything to play for because they're not going to go down. they're not going to get in the playoffs now. They're done. They're on the beach, and I'll say Rotherham win this 3-2.
I can't deny Reading. I mean, to be fair to me, it does look like something's happening behind the scenes. And let's face it, I've seen that happen at my own club when Rotherham, they were in the playoffs of League Two and looked like they were going up, and all of a sudden they started to lose, and no one could work out why. And then it came out that they got a points deduction, and the rest is history. So to be fair to me, something's happened behind the scenes which I couldn't account for, and it's obviously affected the players. And also as well, I mean, 2 of the defeats in the last 3 were against the top 2 in the league as well. So there is that. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Reading fan or the manager, I am disappointed because they were on fire. They were firing towards those playoffs. I really thought they'd get there, and as Lee rightly says, that the wheels have kind of fallen off, and yeah, no one knows why. I've only gone for a 2-1 to Reading because obviously, as Lee says, Rotherham are still rubbish. They've had a rubbish season. 1 win doesn't change that for me. They're still not being very good. And I think Richardson will want to come back here and show Rotherham fans what he's capable of, and that's why I think they'll win game.
That's if he's still manager. There's talks that he will maybe replace this week.
So say that again.
That's if Richardson's still the manager, because there's talks that he could be gone by the end of the week.
I'll change my score then if he's gone. I'm joking.
And then last up is Wigan versus Wimbledon. So Wimbledon are my pick to be relegated in the bottom 4. They're a team only rivaling Northampton for a loss record of they're just losing every game now. They've give up. I think they're in free fall. I think it will be relegated in this order as well. It will be Northampton, Port Vale, Rotherham, and Wimbledon. That's where it will finish. It's going to be over for Wimbledon. Wigan, nothing really to play for. They have won 3 on the bounce prior to the draw the last game. So Wigan were in good form. Can't get in the playoffs, so way off it. But I just think they'll absolutely smash Wimbledon. I think they've give up, and I think they're going to get relegated.
Yeah, I think the Wimbledon situation is simple. I think the manager at the start of the season has said, right, lads, we need to get to 50 points. You get 50 points and we save. And they've got 50 points with about 10 games to spare. And that's why they've kind of fallen off. It's as though they've put pressure on themselves to get to 50 points, and they've got there by scraping a 1-0 win or a draw. I mean, the draw against Rotherham was very lucky because Rotherham dominated the game. And I think it's results like that what got them there. And they've almost kind of come out of the game that got them to 50 points and thought, thank God for that. We don't need to try now. And they've obviously lost, and the momentum's gone. And I'm with Lee. I think Wimbledon are down. I think, Wigan are on form. Rotherham's been there recently and lost. Wigan, I mean, to be fair to them, I couldn't believe how many chances Wigan created. In fact, Wigan are probably the team who created the most chances I've seen in a game against Rotherham. So I think, I know I've only got 2-0 and Lee has got 4-0 to be fair, but I do think this could be an hammering. And then Wimbledon's last game of the season is Huddersfield at home, which again is a difficult game. Now they need to hope that Exeter obviously don't pick up more than a point. And to be fair, they've only got 2 games left, and we've got Exeter losing. So Exeter's last game of the season is Bradford. Now, you'd argue that Bradford are guaranteed a playoff place, and unfortunately for Wimbledon, I do think Exeter go and get a win in this game, and that will send Wimbledon down. So, yeah, incredible. Wimbledon 4 weeks ago, mid-table. I was saying that I thought the manager had done a good job to get them there. And 4 weeks later, just shows that often if you take your eye off the ball, you can still go down. 50 points is not always enough, and it's going to prove not to be. So we'll see you next season, Wimbledon in League Two.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the predictions. Do you think me and Bess got that spot on? or do you think we are talking nonsense about your football club? Obviously, Bez had a few harsh words to say about Barnsley. To add to the odd words he was saying in the championship predictions about Sheffield Wednesday. So is it just a bitter rival, or is he talking sense? I don't know. I don't know which one it is. I think he is spot on with the Barnsley one, to be fair. I think they have got serious issues, and I can see them struggling next season. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.
Cheers all. Bye.